Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Jai Shri Paramhamsa Purvajagacharya Ashtotra Sada Shri Shri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki PPT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Amacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Nitai Go Prahalananda. Please repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tadojaya Mudiraye Nashta Prayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtuki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 11, Swayambhava Manu advises Dhruva Maharaj. Text number 11. Please repeat after me. Sarva Bhutatma Bhavena Sarva Bhutatma Bhavena Bhutavasam Harim Bhavan Bhutavasam Harim Bhavan. Different verse? That's what here, okay. Oh, it's chapter 12, okay. Thank you. Chapter 12. So I'm one chapter behind. Okay. It's a very similar verse though. Okay, repeat after me. Sarvatman Achyute Asarve Sarvatmani Achyute Asarve Tivragam Bhaktim Udvahan Tivragam Bhaktim Udvahan Dadarshatmani Bhuteshu Dadarshatmani Bhuteshu Tam Evavastitam Vibhum Tam evavastitam vibhum Sarvatmani achyuta sarve Tivragam bhaktim udvahan Dadarshatmani bhuteshu Tam evavastitam vibhum Sarvatmani achyuta sarve Tivragam bhaktim vidvan udvahan dardarshatmani bhuteshu tam eva avasthitam vibhu. Tivrogam bhaktim udvahan tadarsha atmani bhuteshu tam iva avasthitam vibhum. Sarvatmani achyuta sarve Tivram gam bhaktim udvahan tadashatmani bhuteshu tam evasthitam vibhum. Sarvatmani achyute sarve Tivroham bhaktim udvahan tadarsha atmani bhuteshu tamiva avasthitam vibhum. Please repeat after me. Sarva atmani, unto the super soul, achyute, infallible, asarve, without any limit, Tivrogam, with unrelenting force, Bhaktim, devotional service, Udvahan, rendering, Dadarsha, he saw, Atmani, in the Supreme Spirit, Bhuteshu, in all living entities, Tam, him, Eva, only, Avasthitam, situated, Vibhum, all powerful. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Dhruva Maharaj rendered devotional service unto the Supreme, the reservoir of everything, with unrelenting force. While carrying out his devotional service to the Lord, he could see that everything is situated in him only, and he is situated in all living entities. The Lord is called Achyuta because he never fails in his prime duty to give protection to his devotees. Please repeat after me. Dhruva Maharaj rendered devotional service unto the Supreme, the reservoir of everything, with unrelenting force. While carrying out his devotional service to the Lord, he could see that everything is situated in him only, and that he is situated in all living entities. The Lord is called Achyuta, because he never fails in his primary duty to give protection to his devotees. Purport. Not only did Dhruva Maharaj perform many sacrifices, but he carried on his transcendental occupation of engagement in devotional service of the Lord. The ordinary karmis who want to enjoy the results of fruitive activities are concerned only with the sacrifices and ritualistic ceremonies as enjoyed in the Vedic Shastras. Although Dhruva Maharaj performed many sacrifices in order to be an exemplary king, he was constantly engaged in devotional service. The Lord always protects his surrendered devotee. A devotee can see that the Lord is situated in everyone's heart, as stated in Bhagavad Gita, Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Hrideshu Arjuna Tishtati. Ordinary persons cannot understand how the Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, but a devotee can actually see him. Not only can the devotee see him outwardly, but he can see with spiritual vision that everything is resting in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as described in Bhagavad Gita, Matsani Sarva Bhutani. That is the vision of Mahabhagavata. He sees everything others see. He sees everything what others see, but instead of seeing merely the trees, the mountains, the cities, or the sky, he sees only his worshipable Supreme Personality of Godhead in everything, because everything is resting in him only. This is the vision of Mahabhagavata. In summary, a Mahabhagavata, a highly elevated pure devotee, sees the Lord everywhere, as well as within the heart of everyone. This is possible for devotees who have developed elevated devotional service to the Lord, as stated in Brahma Samhita, Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena. Only those who have smeared their eyes with the ointment of love of Godhead can see everywhere the Supreme Lord face to face. It is not possible by imagination or so-called meditation. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Shakshurunmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yudapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sakrajadam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanditam Sha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nivishesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Desha Tarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyasha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Mukham karoti vatsalam pangolanga ite girim yat kripatamaham vande Shri Guru dinatharinam. Tavevasmi na jivami tvayavana iti vigya devi tvanayamam charantikam. Hare Krishna. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this morning's Bhagavatam class. Continuing Dhruva Maharaj's chapter. Dhruva Maharaj goes back to Godhead. Here, Maitreya Muni is explaining the glories of Dhruva Maharaj. Before we saw, just a few verses before we saw, Kubera. Kubera was pleased with, the king of Yaksha was pleased with Dhruva Maharaj and offered him benedictions. And after that, Maitreya Muni continues glorifying Dhruva Maharaj. This verse has to be understood in relation to the previous verse, where the significance of Dhruva Maharaj keep performing his various yagyas. In the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says one has to perform yagya. If one doesn't perform yagya, he is considered a thief. Unless a person is a pure devotee, a uttamadhikari, completely free from material contamination, one has to keep performing his yagyas. One cannot give up his duty. One cannot give up his duty. So you can see Dhruva Maharaj is glorified that in spite of him being a pure devotee, but since he was acting a role of a king, an emperor, he kept performing his duties, his prescribed duties. All the yagyas he has to perform, he was performing. That's a previous verse. And it says, on top of performing his regulated or prescribed yagyas or prescribed duties, Dhruva Maharaj also continued his devotional practice. So here, the word Tivira is used. Tivira is significant here in this verse. Tivira means unrelenting force. Generally, when people prescribe something, or talk to people, people say, just do things in moderation. That's what people say. Do things in moderation. Don't go extreme. We hear that often, don't we? Don't become a fanatic. Just take it easy. Just do it in moderation. Even Krishna in early chapters of Bhagavad Gita, in 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, he says, Yukta hara viharasya, yukta chesasa karmasu, yukta sapna bodhasya, yoga bhavati dukhaha. Yoga bhavati dukhaha. It says, Yukta hara viharasya, just do things in moderation. Sleep in moderation, eat in moderation, enjoy, have recreation in moderation. That's what he says. But then, here you can see Dhruva Maharaj is setting an example to act Tivira. Tivira means unrelenting, extreme. Extreme. So, it might sound like a contradiction, doesn't it? It sounds like a contradiction. One might say, in certain places it says do it in moderation, in certain places it says extreme. So one has to understand what is prescribed in moderation is material things, material activities. Now you do your eating, sleeping, your enjoyments, they are material activities. So you have to do that in moderation. So by doing it in moderation, you gradually have the tendency to give it up. If you over-engage in them, they bound you more. So you do material activities in moderation. So you learn how to give it up. But on the other hand, devotional service has to be performed tivira, extreme, unrelenting. Why? Why? Because we've been doing this for a long, long time. We have been toying with this material energy for a long, long time. And this material energy is not easily letting us go. We've been involved in this business of playing with the material energy for a long time. So, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Anadi karma phale, pori baba bhavarna jale, tori bare na dekhi upai. Anadi karma phale, time immemorial. We've been submerged ourselves in bhavarnava jale, this material ocean of birth and death. It's not just last week or this lifetime. Anadi, it's been happening for a long, long time, and it's not a nice place. This Bhavarnava Jala is not a nice place. In the what is that? Govinda Das prays Bhaja Hure Mana. Vajohure Mana, Srinandanandana, Abhaya Charana Ravindare. What is the next verse? No. Durlabha Manava Janama Sang. Thank you very much. Durlabha Manava Janama Satsange. So, we've been in this material world for a long, long time, and the human form of life we got is Durlabha, is very rare to achieve. Prahlad Maharaj also says in his instructions to his fellow classmates, the first verse he says, Durlabham. The human form of life one have achieved is very rare. Durlabham. And very rare, you have this opportunity. And again, same verse, same poem by Govinda Das, the third paragraph. Yedini Yavana, Putra Parijana, Eteki Para, Achire, Kamala Talajala, Jivana Talamala. This very rarely achieved human form of life is Kamala Talajala. It's like water floating on a lotus leaf or lotus leaf. Kamala Talajala, Jivana Talamala. This Jivana Talamala is any time can go upside down. Like if you see a drop of water on a lotus leaf, any bit of a wind, it can fall back into the pond and lose its identity. Yeah, this opening and closing altar, people falling pieces is kind of, you don't need to. When you're sitting in the class, you don't need to. When the altar opens or closes, just concentrate on the class. So Kamala Talajala, Jivana Talamala. So this rarely obtained human form of life can at any moment of time can be lost. And you never know if you're ever going to get this human form of life. There's no guarantee. There's no guarantee. So it's a very rare occasion, and it's very temperamental. So what do you do in a situation like this?
You do prayer, you do like chanting, or...
That wasn't a question. That was So very precarious situation. Anytime it can be lost, and it's a very rare opportunity. On top of it, the situation is not very conducive. It's not a happy-giving situation. You know, the first verse in the morning we sing, Samsara Dhava Nanalita Loka. It's a burning forest fire. It's a burning forest fire. Same thing, again, the same poem by Govinda Das. It's Sita Atapa Pata Parichana. It's the hard, cold wind, rain, just all this misery is just keeping us awake all the time. So, rare opportunity, temperamental, not a very good position. So what do you do in those situations? You pounce on any opportunity you get to escape it. You pounce on opportunity. So that's why Tivara is used, extreme. One has to immediately seize the opportunity. Immediately seize the opportunity. When there's a burning house, the house is on fire. You don't say, like, I'm a very saintly person. I'm going to do everything in moderation. I'm just going to walk out peacefully, slowly. Would you do that? No. Yeah? You run. First opportunity, you run. Where is the exit door? You're out. You make every effort, every obstacle on your way, you move so that you can get to the door. You're out. Same situation we are in. Samsara Dava, Nanalita Loka. The forest fire of material existence. We are in this forest fire of material existence. And for how long? Anadi. For a long, long time. And it's been scorching us. for time indefinitely. So an intelligent person will seize the opportunity and exit. That's why Dhruva Maharaj is setting an example. Unrelenting force, is using the word unrelenting force. Immediately take up. When you read the prayers of Prahalad Maharaj, generally what people do, Prahalad Maharaj says, generally what people do, people have this rare form of life. He starts the verse by stating this form of life is very rare. But in spite of that, what people do, they have like 100 years to live. Best case scenario, 100 years. And he says, out of that 100 years, first 10 years, people are, you're just a child, a baby. You don't know right or left. You're still trying to learn. You're trying to understand who your parents are, who your neighbors are, who your friends are. You're very young. You're pretty much, in others' mercy. And then for another 10 years, you're young, you want to run around, go and play sports and this and that. Before that, Prahalad Maharaj says that out of this 100 years, 50 years you sleep. We all sleep, 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours. People sleep. So out of that 100 years, 50 years is gone by sleeping. 10 years as a baby, 10 years as a youth. And then he says 20 years you spend as an old man. When you get old, to do your own basic things is hard. You struggle to do your own basic things, to get up, cook for yourself, eat. All these activities becomes very hard. And you got 30 years odd left. In this 30 years, generally people, what they do, they chase women. And out of that, comes material life, entanglement, attachment, feeding the child, feeding the family, being involved, buying houses, mortgages. So, we are sitting in the middle of burning fire. There's a desperate need to get out because you won't get this opportunity. But we have spent all our life doing silly things. So, pure devotees like Prahalad Maharaj instructs, Dhruva Maharaj instructs that one has to take up devotional service immediately. As soon as one becomes conscious, and becoming conscious depends on individual. Prahalad Maharaj became conscious. When did he become conscious? When he was in the womb. He became conscious when he was in the womb. When we became conscious? We became conscious when we got Prabhupada's book. That's our opening. As soon as we got the Prabhupada's book, somebody gave you Bhagavad Gita, somebody gave you Bhagavatam, you take that book, that's when we become conscious. And from that point onwards, an intelligent person will take up the process of devotional service with extreme urgency. One has to have that urgency in devotional service. What drives a person in devotional service? Because we are still living in the material world. There's a lot of unfavorable conditions. Because devotional service is not what the world, at least the world what we live in, is geared towards. The world we live in is geared towards material enjoyment. We are not living in Satya Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, Treta Yuga, where there was benevolent kings and very comfortable, conducive situations. No, we are not. We are in a situation where everything is not favorable. Not favorable. In spite of that, how one keeps up going, one step at a time, is understanding the urgency. Understanding the urgency that the imminent death is just around the corner. It can happen at any time. And we can be healthy today and tomorrow you can be dead and gone. Urgency. The urgency that the human form of life is very, very, very rare. 8,400,000 species. 8,400,000 species. out of it you get this human form of life. How rare is it? How rare is it? And in spite of that 8,400,000 species, apparently, 400,000 are human species. And out of those 400, how many people are civil? Or how many people are cultured? People live in tribes and forests and not exposed to civilization. Like when the Westerners came to Australia, people are just tribes. No civilization, no sophisticated civilization. There's no scriptures. So a lot of, one can be born in those situations. But for some agyata sukruti, by some good fortune, of our own good fortune, or by the mercy of the acharya, if one gets that opportunity, one has to seize it, understand the urgency of it, and make one's life successful. Makes one's life successful. That's why Dhruva Maharaj is performing Thivira Bhakti. Akama Sarvakama Va Mokshakama Udarati Thivirena Bhakti Yogena Yajate Purusham Param. Canto 2, Chapter 3, Text 10, I think. Yeah. Similar concept is explained. One might have desires. One might be desire-free. One might be interested in liberation. The verse says, this verse is commonly misinterpreted. The verse I quoted. It's not like if you have desires, you don't have desire, you desire for devotional service, liberation. You take up devotional service, not with an idea that your desires will be fulfilled or your desire to get liberation will be fulfilled by devotional service. Now that is not the purport of the verse. The purport of that verse is, in spite of all those things, one has to park all these desires, or not having desires, or having desire to liberation. One has to park all those things and perform devotional service. Pure devotional service. It's not like I'm still entertaining my desire of being desireless, my desire of being, wanting material things, or my desire to get liberation. And I'm not expecting that. But Thivirena Bhakti Yogena, you perform, again, extreme devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead by parking all these things. That's why Rupa Goswami says, the famous verse from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, what is that? Jnana Karma Anavritam Anukulyena Krishna Anushilanam. What is the beginning of the verse? Anyone? Sorry, what? Thank you. Anya Abhilashita Shunyam. Every other desire parked aside. Even jnana and karma. Jnana means liberation. Karma means going to heavenly planets. Park them all aside. Thivirena Bhakti Yogena. Anyabhilashita sunam jnana karma anavritam anukulyena, favorable devotion service to the Lord. Anukulyena Krishna Anusilanam Bhakti Ruttama. So that's this particular verse has three. It's glorification by Maitreya Muni of Prahlad Maharaj. So three different qualities are highlighted here. So we discussed the first quality described in the first sentence, the unrelenting devotional service. The next one is he talks about that Dhruva Maharaj, he could see that everything is situated him only, and that he is situated in all living entities. He, in the sense here, the Supreme Lord, is situated in everything, and every living entity is situated in the Supreme Lord. So this understanding is described in chapter 6 Bhagavad Gita from text 29 to 32. Text 29 to 32. The qualities or the various stages of a yogi. When a person takes up the yoga process of devotional service. When I say yoga process, not the Govinda Valley yoga, standing on the head yoga. I'm talking about meditating on the Supreme Lord as explained by Krishna in 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. And these yogis, Krishna in the 2nd chapter or 3rd chapter says there's two kinds of people. One cannot perform this kind of yogi, and he includes Arjuna also. Arjuna, you won't be able to perform this kind of yoga. It's for the second kind who are already, in a better state. So for them, he prescribes this yoga process in 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. In that, from verse 29 to 32, he talks about various stages of the yogis. And in those stages, he describes the qualities of those yogis. We can have a quick dive into them. 29 to 32, okay? So the first verse is Sarvabhutastam Atmanam Sarvabhutani Chatmani Ikshate Yoga Yuktatma Sarvatra Samadarshanaha. It's very similar. Here the word Darsha is used. Darsha means darshan, see. Here Ikshate is used. It's a synonym. Ikshate means eyes. See through the eyes. What is the property of the eyes? Seeing. So a true yogi observes me in all beings and also sees every being in me. Indeed, the self-realized person sees me, the same Supreme Lord, everywhere. It's pretty much word to word, synonym, what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, 6th chapter, 29. So a yogi or a person following the yoga process of Dhyana yoga process prescribed by Krishna, in all living beings, he sees me. What does that mean? How does he see? He sees the Paramatma. He sees it in two ways. There's two darshanas. There's two, Ramanujacharya talks about it. There's two darshanas, two ways of seeing. One, he sees that when I see a living entity, I see the spirit soul, not the body. Advanced yogi knows that the body is just temporary. The real identity of the person is the spirit soul. So that's one darshana. And from that darshana, from that point of view, he understands that spirit soul is same as mine. Same in the sense, I'm not talking Mayavad philosophy, I'm talking about same quality. That I'm also Satchidananda Vigraha, that living entity is also Satchidananda Vigraha. I'm the servant of the Lord. That living entity is also servant of the Lord. So there is Samadarshinaha. There's equality based on that view, not the body, that view. So that's one darshana. And that darshana also continues. It also, Ramanujacharya says that darshana, that view, is that the living entity within me, the living entity which me, and the living entity in other bodies also share the same quality with the Lord. Qualitatively, they are the same. So the living entity is also Satchidananda Vigraha, and the Lord is also Satchidananda Vigraha. So qualitatively, the living entity is also same. So that's one darshana. The other viewpoint is the Lord is also situated in every living entity's heart as Paramatma. He is situated in every living entity's heart, which is what? Yeah, he is situated as Paramatma in every living entity. So that's one view of looking at it. And the other view, and the opposite of that is what is that? Mata parataram nanyat kintidasi jananjaya mai sarvamidam proktam sutre mani ganaiva. All these living entities, the Lord is situated inside, but all these living entities are also situated in me. Like like pearls strung in a necklace. All of these living entities are situated in me. And this is further explained in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, 4 to, I think, 4, 6, 4, 5, and 6. Maya dhatam idam sarvam jagat avyakta murtina matstani sarva bhutani na chaham tesha avastitaha. By me, in my unmanifested form, the entire universe is pervaded. All beings are in me, but I'm not in them. They're all situated in me. But as the full Supreme Personality Godhead, I have nothing to do with them. Only my partial incarnation, partial expansion, Paramatma is situated, but as Krishna himself, as as Akila Rasamrita Murti, with all my opulences, I'm nothing to do with this material world. Only my partial expansion as Paramatma is it. So here it says, in my unmanifested form, the entire universe is pervaded. All beings are in me, but I'm not in them. And then he says, Nacha matstani bhutani pashyema yogama aishvaryam. The yogama aishvaryam verse. Bhuta bran nacha bhutosto mamatma bhuta bhavana. And yet everything that is created does not rest in me. Behold my mystic opulence. Although I'm the maintainer of all living entities, and although I'm everywhere, I'm not part of this cosmic manifestation. For myself is the very source of creation. So the Yogam Aishwaryam. Yogam Aishwaryam means the inconceivable opulence of the Lord. It's not conceivable, easily conceivable. We can get a partial understanding how the Lord is present everywhere. At the same time, everything is present in the Lord. At the same time, the Lord has nothing to do with it. He's completely detached. Very contradictory statements. So that's why it says Yogam Aishwaryam. This Yogam Aishwaryam means it's inconceivable for living entities to understand this. It's completely inconceivable. We can, to some extent, by accepting the Shastras, but generally it's very inconceivable how all these things fall in place. But here, going back to the verse here, Dhruva Maharaj has that understanding. The next verse it says, Yataksha sthito nityam vayu sarvatra gomahan tata sarvani bhutani mastani upadaraya. Like the wind is going everywhere here and there, uncontrollable, but it is always resting within the sky. But the sky has nothing to do with the wind. Similarly, all this material creation, things come, take birth, destroyed, universes come into existence, they disappear, they stay for a long time. It's all happening. They're all resting on the Lord. Similarly, the wind flowing, cyclones, and the most powerful material nature is the wind. Hurricanes, we just had some hurricanes in Florida and Louisiana. People die, destroy cities. But that extreme wind is resting on the Supreme Lord. Resting on the sky. But the sky is undisturbed. Nothing, all this wind doesn't do much to the sky. And similarly, all these creations, maintenance, annihilation, destructions of this material world is all happening, but they're all resting on the Supreme Lord. So that is the vision what Dhruva Maharaj has. He has understood the Yogam Aishwaryam. He's so elevated, so you can understand the most inconceivable mystic power of the Lord. Inconceivable mystic power of the Lord. So that's the second sentence. The third sentence is, the Lord is called Achyuta because he never fails in his primary duty. He's glorifying. He knows the glory of the Lord. Who? Who knows the glory of the Lord? Dhruva Maharaj, you're talking about Dhruva. Dhruva Maharaj understands, in spite of all this, inconceivable potency, I'm in everyone and everyone is on me, but at the same time not. In spite of all this, the Lord, the Lord is called Achyuta, and his primary duty. So the Dhruva Maharaj has this understanding of the Lord's primary duty. So again, Bhagavad Gita, 4th chapter, Janma Rahasyam verses. Ato apisan avyayatma verses, starting from that to Janma Karma Samediviyam. In those verses, what is the first verse? He establishes himself. Krishna establishes who he is. In the second verse, what is the first thing he says? Anyone? Paritranaya sadhunam. First thing, he talks about himself in Ato apisan avyayatma verse. In the very next one, he says, my primary duty, Paritranaya sadhunam. I protect the devotees. That's my primary duty. The first thing. And when people ask you, who are you? What's the first thing you say? The most, what you identify yourself, that's what you say. Am I right? So here, when he describes, first thing he says, what's my primary duty? Is Paritranaya sadhunam. Is infallible when it comes to protecting his devotees. Now, ironically, devotees don't need any protection. They are constantly, devotees of like us, I'm talking about pure devotees, they are constantly in the association of the Lord. Like we can see the Yadus and towards the end of 10th canto. They are constantly under the protection of the Lord. Now they are in Dwarka, there is nothing bothering them. They're constantly protected. But in spite of that, the Lord says, I'll protect my devotees. Infallible. The word Achyuta. Achyuta means he never fails. There's never an opportunity the Lord fails in protecting his devotees. Never. He is called, one of his names is Bhakta Vatsala. The name usually is referred to Nrsingadev. His sole appearance in this material world is to protect his devotee, Prahalad Maharaj. He is infallible. He never compromises in that principle. That's why he says, Shipram Bhavati Dharmatma, Shasvat Kanti, Abhagyachati. What is that? Kaunteya Pratijanehi. Name Bhakta Pranayashati. That's why my devotees never perish. There's no question of my devotees perishing because I'm infallible. Nothing stops me from protecting my devotees. You can see Prahalad Maharaj and Nrsingadev appeared. Again, Prahalad Maharaj, externally he needed protection from his father. But when you read through his verses, he says he was always in bliss. This material energy was not at all acting on Prahalad Maharaj. Whatever the father was putting him through, he was in bliss. Nothing affected him. He was, in that sense, he was always, in transcendental platform, whatever happening. So, for example, you have some anesthetics and, somebody pinches you there, it doesn't hurt. Doesn't hurt. Same thing, he was completely protected. As a spiritual entity, whatever the troubles he was put through by his father did not affect him at all. Not only did not affect him, he was not even bothered. He was not even aware of all those things happening. He was completely absorbed in a blissful state, meditating on the Lord. So, in spite of that, Nrsingadev appears to set an example, to save a little boy. And the other examples we can see, the quality of the Lord protecting his devotees is Gajendra Moksha. As soon as the moment Gajendra turned his eye towards the Lord, as soon as he says, I surrender, the Lord immediately left his position in Vaikuntha. Immediately left. He didn't even wait for Garuda. Garuda has to catch up with him. He immediately left, swift. He left. As soon as his devotee called out, he left. Nothing stopping him. No impediments. Where is my car? He wasn't waiting. He just immediately. All the other, the car, Garuda has to catch up. Join him later. So Dhruva Maharaj understood that his Lord, Krishna, is infallible, Achyuta, when it comes to protecting his prime duty, protecting his devotees. So he had this understanding. He had this threefold understanding from this verse. One has to have unflinching, unrelenting urgency when it comes to devotional service. The next, he had the clear understanding, even though it is Yogam Aishwaryam, it's very hard to understand the nature of the Lord, how he is present everywhere. The same thing, every time everything is present in him. At the same time, he has nothing to do with it. He had that understanding. He had that mystical understanding. That Yogam Aishwaryam, he could understand that. And also he understood that his Lord Achyuta is infallible when it comes to executing his primary duty of protecting his devotees. So these are some of the glories of Prahlad Maharaj. I'll stop here if you have any questions, comments, corrections. Yeah, it comes. If you artificially develop, you just, that's just material world. Like all the powerful leaders, they are fearless based on their material opulences. The fearlessness comes by practicing devotional service. The real fearlessness, that the Lord will protect you. Or anything happens to me, is again very basic Bhagavad Gita, second chapter. Natva evaham jatanasham, I'm not this body. Anything happens to me, this body is just temporary. I'm not affected. Comes from that kind of understanding, from a spiritual understanding, that opulences and distress, Samasukam dukham dhiram, so amritatvaya kalpate. Happiness and distress, they come and go. Matra sparshasya kaunteya, they come and go. So there's one level, just body, it's just affecting my body, which is temporary. So that's come from that understanding of the philosophy, understanding that the Lord will protect you. For a devotee, the Lord's protection is what, where you lost some money and he's going to get it back to you. Is that what definition of protection? I mean, it can have that. The real protection is, I'm going back to God. He's taken me, or I am under His. I'm acting under His jurisdiction. That is more what the devotee want to focus on. Even if I'm doing something, I'm doing devotional service and I'm selling the books or preaching mission, whatever effort I'm doing, it's not going in loss because it's for the service of the Lord. So there is no diminishing. So I should fearlessly go and do it. generally people stop doing things because when they are faced with failure, they don't want to do it. Like I go and distribute books, nobody buys, I'll stop distributing books. But the devotee's view is, fearlessly go and distribute if anybody buys or not buys. Anybody buying is not up to you, it's up to that individual's sukriti, what Krishna has invested, and sending him to you to buy. Your job is to go and be fearless, put yourself there, sell your books. That is your job. Or go on Harinam. It's strange. It might feel strange that you're wearing all these robes and strange looking, and you're going on the street. There may be a bit of a fear. But devotees are not. They're fearless. They're not thinking externals. They're thinking, oh, this is the job of for the Lord, and I'm doing that to please the Lord. So any fear comes out of it is external. So having that kind of a superior understanding for a devotee. Yeah. Any other questions?
When we were talking about the feeling of a sense of urgency, can you just briefly explain about that we don't mistake that we have to be like active or practically how it means more in our consciousness or to think bhakti is the most important?
Yeah. Look, there's two ways to answer this. One, if a person is born and brought up in a cultured, when I say Krishna conscious cultured society, from that point of view, from a very young age, the parents has to get the children educated in devotional service, so the devotional service becomes their second nature. When they grow up into adults, the understanding that I'm not this body, the body is temporary, the happiness and distress I get are temporary, I have to do Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. That's my priority. Maintaining my body is secondary, primary is devotional service. So when you're born in a cultured society, when I say cultured, in a Krishna conscious society, these things are automatically becomes your second nature. For example, people who grow up in islands like Fiji or somewhere, for them swimming is second nature. It's automatic. They don't need to worry too much. They don't need to struggle. So, to answer your question, from that point of view, the children should be brought up in such a culture that becomes second nature. So it's not a struggle. For people like us who take up devotional service, it is a battle. We are not accustomed to the previous case, where it is second nature. We have to. Everything is an effort for us. For us to chant 16 rounds, I read it. Can you chant 16 rounds the very first day? Like for example, when I read Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita, I was like 13 or 14 years old, and I was chanting 10 mantras for 5 years or something every day. So I was just 10 mantras, not even 108. So, because there was no other influence, and nobody told me how to chant or what to chant. Or just Prabhupada says, you should chant Hare Krishna. So I said, okay, I'll chant 10 times. Better than 1 is 10. So that was my view. But when you come to the association of the devotees, satsanga, when the instructions are there, one has to actively try to take up. Actively try to take up. One can't have the Vigata Jvara, again the verse from Bhagavad Gita, Vigata Jvara, it means prevented by the fear of previous contaminations. Anyone knows that verse? Vigattajora, the last word he uses. One should not be prevented by or just pondering on, or holding on to his previous inflictions. One has to consciously move forward. Have that urgency, move forward. The more you relax, the more you're risking. The more you relax, the more you're risking. But how do you find the balance? That's up to the individual. That's up to the individual. And it's not an easy task. That's why I said the first view, where you're brought up in a culture, it's different, easy, second nature, ideal. At least we should do that for our future generations, knowing it's not easy for us. The lessons we learned, it's not easy. We're all sitting here speaking big philosophy, but we all know it's hard. It's very hard. But, one way of looking at it, at least for the second generation, the next generations, one has to have that. For us, how much we can take. How much we can take. There's certain very clear-cut things which is forbidden, like the 4 regulative principles. Eating karmic food. These are things we have to stop. We can't keep indulging in these activities and expecting higher progress. Does that make sense? Yeah, there's no... According to this, you have to be... yes, you have to, but it's individual. How much you can. Things like, if you come to... That's why we prescribe coming to mode of goodness. At least try to come into mode of goodness. Getting up in the morning, taking shower, eating prasadam. These activities, then it'll help you to change the gear to Tivira. It helps you. If you're still in lower modes, it's hard to get into the Tivira gear. Does that make sense? So at least, mode of goodness, that helps. Devotional service, okay, yes. It's 9 o'clock. If people want to go and have prasadam, go. But if anybody has questions, I'm happy to sit and answer. You have to speak up. I'm going deaf. Not being artificial, that's what I heard. See, these are nice catchphrases. Nice catchphrases to say, fake it till you make it, nice things to say. But one has to start acting on the core. Krishna, third chapter Bhagavad Gita, Karmendriyani samyamya. Anybody that verse? Karmendriyani samyamya, manasa smaran, mrityachari uchate. These are the key words, but I don't know the full verse. Anybody? It says, Krishna says, sorry what? Manasa smaran, that's the verse. Mrityachari uchate. What Krishna says in that verse is, even physically, we have to, nice catchphrases, fake it, whatever. But we have to see what the scripture says. What scripture says. In that verse, Krishna says, Karmendriyani samyamya. Asamyamya means even if you have controlled your senses externally, you're detached from your sense and sense object externally, manasa smaran. But if you keep meditating on the sense objects, you're still considered, you're called a mrityachari. A mrityachari means a pretender, a shoponi, a false pretender. So we have to see what the scripture says. Fake it till you make it. What are you faking? That's not faking. What you're chanting is not faking. What the activities of devotional service, there is, well, as a pun, you can say the only person faking is me here, sitting here and speaking philosophy, but I'm not qualified. That is faking. But the activities of devotional service, you're chanting your rounds, you're reading Shastra, you're coming and paying obeisance to the deities. These are core principles. Nothing is faked. You might not have those understanding and the maturity and the purity which comes with it, but the activities are the same. There's nothing fake about it. There's no faking about it. Yeah. So that's why we say even book distributors, Prabhupada used to say, read the books before you distribute. And if you go and distribute books and say, this will change your life, but you never read it, that's fake. We're not fake. There's nothing fake about Krishna consciousness. Of course, you don't act on platforms which are beyond you. You don't act. That's why he says in the previous, very important, these things. In the previous verse, he says, Dhruva Maharaj practiced all the prescribed duties. He did not give up his prescribed duties. Whatever the prescribed duty for a woman, whatever prescribed for a brahmachari, whatever the prescribed duty for a grahastha, one has to perform. You can't fake and say, I'm a pure devotee, I'm going to just married to my harmonium and then sing every day. And that's faking. That's not recommended. Young people running to Vrindavan, that's not. You go there, spend a few days, come back. That's recommended. But you go to Vrindavan and start acting like a peacock and dressing yourself like a gopi or a gopa. Walking around with a cow's, what is it? The stick what the gopas have. These are all faking. We don't do those things. We don't dress like gopis. We don't act like gopis. We don't dress like the cowhead boys. We don't act like cowhead boys. We don't do those things. There's nowhere it is prescribed. Nowhere it is prescribed. How much, whatever I've read, I'm sure there's more learned persons here, there's nowhere it is prescribed. These are fake things. We follow regulative principles. We chant, even if you don't have taste, we still chant. That's not fake. That is the process. Okay? So there's nothing fake. Prabhupada is a gentleman. He never gave anything fake to us. He was a pure devotee of the Lord. One is a pure devotee, but also he's a gentleman. There's nothing he gave is fake. Nothing artificial. Everything he has done, said, acted, it's all in the very highest platform. And we're following him, so nothing we are doing is fake. Understood? All right, on that note, I'll finish here. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhubhyevacha, Patidanam Bhavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo, Namo Namah.